Jump into that WoodwardSports.com chat thread as well. Detroit Dabber 313 with the big what up dose. Says nice to get a win in regulation. Shouldn't have been that close against a team like the Sharks, though. Dabber, I'll meet you halfway. When you win on the road in any sport, any professional sport, I don't care how it happens, and it happened. So that was a pass-fail scenario. They passed
100%, and it's a pass-fail scenario the rest of the year. I don't care how. What did I say yesterday? These next 10 games are huge, and especially stepping on the road. But you got those 2 points right off the rip. You can afford to go into overtime, but you need to get those 2 points. Right. So it doesn't get any easier. You look at Toronto just went into L.A., which you're playing tomorrow night in L.A., one of the best teams in the league, and they shut them out. So they're not going to be – this ain't going to be as easy as expected. You always want to – you want to go into a San Jose, and you don't let the record dictate that, because this is the NHL, and you see we have our own issues, right? But we were able to score 5 goals, right? So usually when you're on these West Coast trips, you want the team you're going to go up against to have handled the team before you, so they're maybe resting on their laurels a little bit. So, but again, just got to go out and find a way to get those 2 points.
No, and they did, so mission accomplished.
Yes.
And it is, since we're here right now, I do want to address it with you, D-Mac, because we said we would talk about it yesterday. I saw somebody in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Jake said, looking forward to some Red Wings talk today. So, let me take a couple minutes in. Let's get into it, D-Mac, because I do want to tell you, as we flipped, being away for work and with the holidays and stuff like that, I always get alerts on my phone, so I'm always mindful of what's going on.
Right.
And I get alerts every time there's a goal, and then I get a ton of alerts all the time, obviously, when the Red Wings play, because they score a lot and they give up a lot. And it just, you brought it up to me yesterday, and I went and took a look at it, and you mentioned the fact you're like, the 3 games back of a playoff spot. I was like, okay, that's about what I expect, because I hadn't checked lately. I was like, that's about what I expected. But then you put in the caveat, there's 5 teams between you and that playoff spot within those 3 points. And D-Mac, I went and looked a little further. The Capitals occupy the last playoff spot right now.
And they got games in hand, right?
At 3. One of the teams you're chasing, the New Jersey Devils. They have 3 games in hand. D-Mac, this is not looking good right now, my friend.
Well, so you went from the luxury of having the start that you had, right, to be able to look around in your division and see what's coming. Right now, you do not, right? It's dire, because it's all about what we said at the beginning of the year. Why do you have to get off to a good start, right? So you don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Because who's in the water with you?
Look at the San Jose Sharks, right? They're not as bad as they were with all the losing to start with, but they only have 9 wins. They have no shot to make the playoffs. You can't get out there. When you look deeper into it, it makes it so imperative. So what do you have to do right now? You forget about what anybody else is doing, and you got to put your head down and go to work. And last night, yeah, I mean, if you're going to break down the X's and O's and whatever, that was a sloppy game, and, there was mistakes made. But at the end of the day, they found a way to win, and that's the mentality that you have to have. So you can't have it both ways. So, right now they're in it, because you know what, Neil? Sooner than not, if they don't handle this, and that's why it's as imperative and as tough as it is going out west on this road trip, where you're sort of like, man, you're going to come off this trip and you're going to really know where you're at. But if you can get these points, because it is the NHL any given night, if you can find, oh my God, you held a team to 3 goals. I mean, I got to give you credit. You scored 5, but gosh darn, I mean, to hold somebody to 1 or 2, but it's just not the way that the league is. So right now, they got that red light's on, flashing, boys. No better time than the present.
No, and it really hit home yesterday, D-Mac, when you said that, and you said they're in a spot where they're going to have to go 14 of 20.
Remember at the beginning of the year, right, where we got out, and we're always looking at Buffalo and Ottawa, right, because it's sort of, the mirror of where we're at, right? You're Buffalo and Ottawa, who stumbled out of the gates and have been trying to play catch-up ever since. You're with them right now. So you have, and you know what? You're going to find out what you're made of, more than not. So, again, I didn't think that they'd be in this situation. If you listen to Derek Lalonde and different things of running into, the Perron suspension and, different guys being hurt, and obviously the goalie situation, but that's no excuse. It's the NHL. Let's go.
Yes, Nick Heath, I will get to your Jeff Iafrate questions coming up in just a little bit. We want to do like some serious, not serious stuff, but we want to do some sports stuff for a minute here to get things going. We'll have a slap ask segment, I'm sure, with Jeff Iafrate. So we'll get there, no doubt. But yeah, DMAC, it's just for me, that's what it was like. It's not looking good. I'm not getting a good feeling.
Where are you at, Spenny? Like, where are you at with your Red Wing fandom?
I always forget that. Spenny's watching every game all the time.
Spenny's on the alert, but Spenny's on, like, I got a vibe that he's vibing with me.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we're into it, but it's like, I got other things to do because you're not, you're not a priority.
Yeah, I couldn't watch last night's game. I'm not going to lie. I was really tired. I was in bed before the game even started. But yeah, they need to buckle down. This is, like you said, DMAC, this 10-game stretch is going to be what decides if they make the playoffs or not. So they're going to have to go out there. They're going to have to get 2 points in every opportunity they have to do that and give themselves a good lead in the division because the East is loaded, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me correct that just a little bit, Spenny. This next 10-game stretch will dictate whether you are going to be able to fight for a playoff spot because right, you're still going to have 35 games left and stuff like this. But if you look at, and when you go not to nerd out here, but if you go look at the teams in the East last 10 games, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be a team like the minimum is a 7-3. Now when that just shows you how close everything is in that division because over 10 games, the best teams just go 7-3, right? So if you can put a win streak together and get up there and stuff like this, you can make some ground. But if not, I mean, it's like falling down the mountain. It's like climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
See, but DMAC, here's my problem with it, right? Like you guys both talk about this stretch of games. I'm like, okay, so I look down real quick. You got 2 more games on the West Coast. McJesus is coming to town next Thursday. You're at Toronto. DMAC, I'm not done. You're at Toronto. You're at Florida. You're at Carolina, all in a row, and then Tampa's coming back here. Like,
I didn't want it to be this 10 games of the season to be the one that it is, but you've put yourself in the position that this is where I gotta go to you. Hey, Neil, look at how tough it is. So again.
See, that's not realistic to expect,
but No, but hear me out. You did this to yourself. Mm-hmm. You did this to yourself, so I don't give a shit about what. It's not right or wrong. It's just what is, and this is the facts. So the facts is, but think about if you can get through this at that clip. Look at the confidence, and it has to mean that you are playing well, and you're shoring up some of these mistakes. You can't let 3 or 4 goals. Against those teams, it doesn't get easier. It never does get easier. But you've done this to yourself. And I'm telling you, there's a way out. It looks grim to everybody, but there's a way out. And I always hold that hope. Because they haven't played their best game. How many 60-minute games have they played this year?
A handful.
Handful.
Tops.
Now we can score and we can put the puck in the net and compete with all these teams offensively. But they're so head and shoulders above us defensively.
And that's DMAC too, like the way I think that this stretch is going to go. I think you guys are picking up on the vibe I'm laying down here of how I think that this is going to end up. Through all of that, though, DMAC, and this isn't the time for that right now, but through all of it, did they address a giant deficiency in the offseason correctly?
Yes. Offense.
Yes.
Offense. They got one. If we're talking about the Lions, we're looking ahead of how Brad Holmes has made this Lions team and how he addressed the offense, and we think that he's going to address mostly on the defense this draft. It's the same thing, I think, with Steve Yzerman. He said, we got to score goals. We can score goals in this league. Now I'll work on getting the goalie, and I got to add these defensemen. We got some in the system that hopefully we can develop, but that's why it's not now. That's why I put the clock up. I took it down because I thought with the scoring, I didn't think they'd be this bad defensively, but they still got a chance. Now, whether you say it's a glimmer of hope or whatever else, I still have confidence, right? Until I don't see it. But there's a lot of other things. And the only way out is through. And you know who has to lead them? Dylan Larkin. And so we've seen Dylan Larkin. What have we always said? He's got to be the point of game guy. He's got to be this number 2C or whatever. Now, being that number 2C, being that Steve Yzerman guy, you have to take the defensive part of the game and those leads on your back. And until Dylan Larkin does it and says enough's enough, and leads that way, that's the next step. But you can't expect the kid to make 2 giant leaps all at once. It's all part of the progress. That's why, at the end of the day, I say they're 2, 3, 4 years away.
Here's
Nice
the other
to
deal,
Jeff.
real quick before we cut to the break. How good is Alex DeBrincat, by the way?
He's really good.
How good is that dude?
Lucas Raymond's been playing really good too.
He has been. Yeah.
Elevated, and Gentry brought it up, and we'll talk wings more, as they go into LA tomorrow and stuff like that. But see, a strength of our team back in the day after playing a lot together was Scotty used to throw us all together in practice. You wouldn't skate with the grind line in practice unless you're preparing for something. You skate with everybody else. So Scotty Bowman's bingo bench. We just call it the bingo ball on the bench, right? Where you go, you off of 3 lines, go out and score. Derek Lalonde's mixing up his lines and mixing up everything. That I don't think they're mature enough yet. They're still figuring it out to be able to do that, and that sort of has hindered them a lot of ways because it doesn't hinder you offensively, it hinders you defensively.
If you're looking for one of the largest